academic writing in the AI era. How to write high quality journal articles without the fear of plagiarism or AI detection. My target audience today is undergraduate finalists, masters and PhD students, as well as early career researchers. First, let me introduce myself a bit. I'm Okaito Samuel Ario, originally from Nigeria. I'm a PhD candidate at China Agricultural University. Uh, Over the past 2 years, I've been privileged to publish more than 38 high-level SCI papers with more than 300 citations, which is a great achievement to make within a very short period. Now, how I was able to achieve this is what I'm going to be showing us today. In this training, I will expect by the end of the session that participants will be able to use AI ethically as a research assistant, not as a ghostwriter. Also write original human-sounding academic texts, avoid plagiarism and AI detection red flags, paraphrase, synthesize, and cite correctly, and ultimately polish manuscript to journal-ready standard. So let's go in. Now, there are three core tools I use in writing my articles. First is ChatGPT, second Grammarly, and third Google Scholar. I include myself or you as a researcher because while using generative AIs, you shouldn't go to sleep. Your duty is to prompt and also proofread whatsoever output you get from a generative AI. Now, let's understand what plagiarism means. When you reproduce another author's work exactly as it is written, even if you cite, it will be flagged as plagiarism. Another plagiarism that most researchers often overlook is self-plagiarism. When you reuse your previously published work without proper acknowledgement, it will be flagged as plagiarism. What about AI detection? Most AI-generated text comes in sentence of uniform length. They also lack dictionary voice, as AI-generated texts are usually generic with minimal field-specific vocabulary when not properly prompted. Thirdly, AI-generated text lacks citation upon request and may include inaccurate or inappropriate references when prompted. As a golden rule, AI should only assist in thinking and not replace thinking. Every researcher should take note of this. What are the ethical boundaries of AI in academic writing? 1. AI should be able to generate outlines for you, explain concepts, help rephrase your ideas, and also improve clarity and flow. However, AI should not write a full manuscript for submission, should not also be used to fabricate citations or references, and should not produce a final unedited text. As a point of note, responsible AI use enhances scholarship. Irresponsible use undermines academic integrity. Now, here are some simple ethical prompts that we can employ in our research. First example is explain the concept of oxidative stress in simple academic language. Now, what is the difference between this type of prompting and a normal prompting that we term as vague prompting? Is If you stop by just prompting it, explain the concept of oxidative stress without adding this simple academic language, you are just giving it an open space to work without a constraint. And AIs, once you don't constrain them to a specific uh, objective, they tend to give you generic outputs, which will often lack deep discipline specific vocabularies. Now, another example is to tell prompt AI, improve clarity while keeping my original meaning and tone. Once it keeps your original meaning and tone, it means the tone will be humanized, right? Once it keeps your original meaning and tone, it means it's only going to improve on what you have fed it with while keeping your tone. That alone has humanized that paragraph. Now, next is can tell a generative AI to suggest alternative ways to structure a paragraph. It can also restructure that paragraph and make it sound fluently. That is one. It could also help you to arrange the logical flow within that text. It's important. Now, as another point of note, never prompt a generative AI to write a full journal article on so. When you do that, it's going to give you it was going to give you a write-up, right? But those write-up will just be without specific disciplinary vocabulary, which most AI detectors often look at. And then once they detect that, they will flag it as an AI written text. So we should take note. Now, paraphrasing and quoting. Paraphrasing is when you write information from a source using your own word while keeping the same meaning and also citing the source. Whereas quoting is using the author's exact word, placing them inside quotation marks with citation. Now, if you are not able to paraphrase well, that text will be flagged as a plagiarized text. So a well paraphrased text should be in your own words, but in the main idea of the author, while you place a citation alongside it, and then your work will be perfect and it will pass any uh, plagiarism checkup. Now, as a bonus, detection system looks for patterns, whereas humans we write with variation. Whether you like it or not, human beings we are limited. As we write, fatigue come in, we get tired, and before we know it, the tone in which we are writing will change unknowingly. So that is a normal way of the that's the normal way we the academics write. Whereas if it is an AI you prompt without proper prompting, it's going to maintain a same tone all through the text, which is one aspect an AI detection to always look out for. So we should take note of that. Now, next is Grammarly as a polisher. I use Grammarly to polish any text I get from ChatGPT, which is the main generative AI I use. Once I get a paragraph from ChatGPT, I place it in my Word document, then I use Grammarly to edit. Now, if your Grammarly doesn't appear like this, whenever you open your Word editor, then you need to download your Grammarly 2 your desktop and also configure it to work alongside every of your editor. You can use Grammarly to fix grammars, punctuation, clarity, and readability. Now, as a point of note, Grammarly should not rewrite arguments, and Grammarly should not change technical meaning. It is very, very important. So how do I use Grammarly? Whenever I read through a paragraph and discover that there are some grammatical errors that need to be fixed, I highlight the portion of that paragraph, let's say, for example, like this, and then click on this icon. Once you bring your cursor to this icon, another green icon will pop up. Once you click on it, this window will pop up, where mostly I use the sound as an academic as my default because I'm writing an academic research manuscript. It's very, very important. So once you're able to do that, even if you take the whole paragraph and prompt Grammarly like that, it will change the tone to academic tone. And by so doing, it has helped you to humanize that text. Now, we generated text from ChatGPT, which means we never copied from another author directly. We use Grammarly to rephrase and then change the tone, making it sound academic. So these two steps I took, or these two steps I always take, is what has removed any form of plagiarism and also changed the tone to human sounding tone, which means it has prevented plagiarism. It has also prevented AI detection flags. Now, next, I use Google Scholar for citation and referencing. Once I get my paragraph fully arranged, now how do I know my paragraph is fully arranged? If there is logical flow within the paragraph. As a point of note, for your research write-up to be appealing to your readers, there have to be a logical flow in your write-up. And each paragraph should communicate an idea. Not that you just chip in different ideas within one paragraph. Before you know it, your readers will get tired of reading your articles. I keep giving people this example. There was a review manuscript I wrote. We submitted to a journal, high impact factor journal, about 12.5, thereabout. That article was rejected. However, in the response from the editor, the editor said, though this article is well written, however, because there are so many articles on our table, we can't process your manuscript further. You can submit it to other journals. Why am I giving this example? Even though that article was rejected, but the comment from the editor made me happy. Why? Because she said it is well written with correct logical flow. And I'll also tell you people this as a bonus. Go through any of my published articles. Once you start reading that article from the introduction, or let's say from the abstract, as the case may be, you won't stop reading until you get to the conclusion. Why? Because I always use my ChatGPT to do my paragraphs, use my Grammarly to correct logical flows, and then use my Google Scholar to cite. Now, let's come back to Google Scholar. Once we get our paragraph set with correct logical flow, You read through the paragraph. You as a researcher, you know statements that need to be cited. So you copy that statement that needs to be cited and place it on Google Scholar search bar. Once you search, Google will bring up several articles. Then you check through the suggested articles from Google and check. Mostly the articles Google Scholar will come up with are articles that have some phrases that are similar to the statements you've copied. Now check through the articles. Some of the articles might have phrases similar to what you've copied, but out of context. So in that case, you don't pick that reference. Another thing to look out for is the journal itself. Somehow, I'm not undermining MDPI, but because my supervisor doesn't like the idea of MDPI citation, so most times I jump MDPI, even though they have lot of citations, and then I go for Elsevier, Frontiers, TEDFund Online, Willy, and then Nature, PNAS, and the likes. However, there are some cases whereby it's only MDPI that will be available. In that case, I don't have a choice, but I'll have to pick that MDPI. Another point of note is that for your research to be at the forefront of technology, of advancement in that particular field, you should always look out for references that are between the past 5 years and the present. It's very, very important. As a matter of fact, if I'm writing a manuscript now in 2026, most of my reference will be between 2024 and 2026. For me to pick any reference that is before 5 years, which is 2021 now, that particular article must have had so many citations, and that point is very, very critical. So I pick that reference. Once you pick your reference, you either go manual, as some of us still do, or you use your Mendeley. Once you get an article from here, you can search for the DOI and then copy the DOI to your Mendeley, and then you place in your citation. And also remember to place in your references in case you are still using the manual method of reference. So once you get a suitable article from Google Scholar, you click on Cite, and then Google Scholar will pop up with this window with different citations format. Most common is the APA that we use. You can copy this, reference and then place it in your reference session, and also cite properly. And once you're able to do that, your paragraph is set. Then you go to the next paragraph. This brings me to another point. When writing with any generative AI, don't ever prompt an AI to write a whole section or a whole manuscript, as I've mentioned earlier. Work from paragraph to paragraph, from paragraph to paragraph. A preceding paragraph should usher in another paragraph, and then there will be logical flow. Once an idea flows from one paragraph to the next paragraph, you discover that your articles will get lot of views and ultimately lot of citations in the long run. That is the end of my slides. Next is for us to